Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hey, greetings everybody. We had a technical thing there to restart this recording. But yeah, man, greetings everybody. This is Wesley Pepper. This is the Art Lexcia podcast. This is episode 153. And welcome to everybody. For my new and returning listeners, much love to everybody. I appreciate everything. Also to my new subscribers. See, there's a few this week, so much love to all of that. I hope you get value out of this out of this channel. Also, just to my guest, the APVA voting has closed for the awards this year, so those guys voted for me. Thank you, I appreciate it. And yeah, let's see how it goes. I think the thing is September, late mid-September, sometime thereabout. And also just big up to Bridget and Flo from Bazaar. You know, I've been recording a lot of their guests over the past few months, actually longer than that. Yeah, there's also some cool stuff coming up. I've got a really interesting guest coming up next week, so look forward to that too. But yeah, man, today I'm talking to an old friend of mine. We stretched long time of Newtown days. Shit, man. Even in saying Newtown days sounds old. There are older sounds that I found. You know what Horror Cafe is now? It's a mall,
Yo,
brother.
dude, we went past there with my wife not so long ago.
What's
Dude,
this?
like,
You know, where you bury people? There's a famous brand.
yeah,
Forever Life. It slipped my mind. That's what Horror Cafe is now. Damn,
yeah. Which,
damn.
which which is on brand, horror and then death.
Yes, yes. My man, my man. But yes, as let's start there, man. Just introduce yourself to my guests, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Uh, it always sounds so humorous, man. Like when you introduce yourself. Like, anyway, Lebogang
Yeah, man. You
Tshetlo.
know, like just
Um,
I know you're an artist, a writer. As I know
yeah.
you as a writer, primarily as a writer and as a poet,
Mm,
as a performer. But I know I've liked you doing a lot of painting, which we actually want to talk to, especially the watercolors.
mm,
And you're also a photographer.
mm, mm,
So you're normally my experience is that an artist can't really call himself a photographer, a painter, because that's just
mm,
maybe 5% or 10% of what the artist does. Any of my
yeah.
international guests that have been watching this channel here in Africa, um, you can't do one thing. You can't do one
Yeah.
thing. Even if you're doing this gig for 20 plus years, you can't do one thing. It's just
Mm,
impractical. It won't
mm,
work out. So I get it
yeah.
when people say like they can't just say boom, I'm a writer or but so I just use the term artist as an all-encompassing term.
Yeah. As an overall thing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But like what we like to focus on,
Yeah.
especially is processes, man. Like I'm super fucking interested in that. Like I think the African artist is the most understood um person probably
Yeah.
in the world and most sampled and most
Mm,
exploited person in the world. And
mm,
part of that reason is we don't know their processes. We don't know how they think. So we always assume, assumptions. We all know about assumptions. So that's part
yeah.
reason why I like to do this. So my brother, yeah,
Well,
take it from there.
yeah. Look. I like the artist thing that you just elaborated on. Because as an artist, you would, especially the artists of old, um, they did a lot, and it was all under the umbrella of the artist. Michelangelo, for example, and Leonardo. Um, they were physicists, artists, and they did a bit of sculpturing. They did this and they did that. It's creativity. It's expression. It's taking ideas from here, manifesting them in reality. That's the art. Do you know what I mean? Now these days we like to put everything in a box because we like to make
Mm,
ourselves feel better and smart. Do you know what I mean? If things are in a box, we feel like we've accomplished something. But at the same time, we would like to say, no, you have to think outside the box. You know what I mean? Which one is it? You know what I mean? So if you're an artist and you focus on one thing, good for you. That's you. As long as you're you and as long as you're true to yourself, then that's you. But if you're an artist and then you also have your 9 to 5, you're an engineer, then that's what it is. You're an artist. You know what I mean? So putting yourself in these boxes really doesn't work because sometimes it limits you. I've seen photographers who are great artists, painters, but like they'll never post their paintings because people think they know me as a photographer. And I'm like, you're an artist though. You should be able to express yourself in whatever way you want to. Anyway, my 2 cents. I before I rant on that.
My brother, before that, we had before that little technical thing we had, you were talking about your late dad. And just to my listeners, so Lebogang's father was a legend, a printmaker, as an artist, and also a bit of an entrepreneur, I guess. And that's actually we met at that studio, Artist Proof. Um, I mean, that was like almost 20 years ago. You were
Yeah,
explaining about I mean, your dad's legacy was massive. I mean, I remember when I got there was that tragedy that happened literally a few months just before I got there, and
yeah, a few months after.
it was heavy in the air, and you
Mm.
know, in hindsight, it definitely kickstarted everything, especially on my career, the direction I went after that.
Yeah,
Uh, so just explain to us a little bit. I mean, you don't have to really go into detail if it's still a scratchy subject, you know. But your dad was a heavyweight.
yeah,
Just an interesting point before you get into it. I actually follow an Instagram channel on your late old man. Like a few months ago, I saw it. Do you run it?
yeah,
Oh,
yes,
okay,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Look, my father was in a time when social media didn't really
Mm, mm,
like pull the way it does today. So instead of like trying to get a gallery space where I can put up his work and whatever, I was like, where is his digital footprint, you know? And I was like, look, I can't complain about nobody talking about him or his name vanishing into the void when I'm not doing anything about it. So I was like,
mm,
what's the first thing I can do? Is make an account
mm,
and post the stuff so that when somebody Googles Ntlanta Klaba art, they can actually find something. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's just look, as you grow up, you realize that like the one thing that we cherish the most, and people don't believe this until they grow older, is
mm,
time.
mm,
And then using that time to leave something so that you can be remembered. That's simple. Everything else is secondary. The house, the car, the whatever. But everybody wants to be remembered. So it's currency. That's the currency. And I was like, okay, I don't want his name to go into the void.
mm,
I'm the one who's supposed to speak about him and be on the
mm,
forefront. You know
mm.
what I mean? It took me 2 decades to get to that
But
point,
you
which
know,
is
like
another about grief that I'm not even going to go into. But
that's
yeah,
fine, man. That's fine. I always feel that like you know, we say 2 decades, and like I guess it is a long time. To me, it's not really.
yeah,
I was talking to a buddy of mine
mm,
not too long ago about my concept of time since COVID, really. My concept of
mm,
time has changed. I don't really see 10 years. I can remember conversations I had with numerous people over the years that was like 10, 15 years ago, and that thing
mm,
is still real to me today. It is still real.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
I can still feel everything. So it,
mm, mm,
um, 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 I guess also like what happened like post-COVID to me. I just try. I don't always get it right, but I just try not to stress about time. Um, I
yeah,
think that these institutions, galleries, and so forth really fucked us up with time because they said time is money,
mm,
and
yeah,
they own all of the above. So you sort of feel
mm,
slave
mm,
to time and money.
mm,
I think that actually killed a lot of artists, literally killed a
Yeah,
lot of artists, and
yeah.
it's killing a lot, a new generation,
Mm.
because we all just run and keep.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's just it's a real
Yeah,
touchy
on
topic, and
this
I
rat
think it's
race.
too early
Yeah,
in the
we are
morning to
literally
get
on this rat
upset. I
race.
think it's too early.
But I think this is the right time to get upset so that like you can use that as a day to just like vent it out. You know what I mean?
My man, Nat, let me just put this on the table now that we there. I didn't want to go this direction, but we're here now. I haven't made any
Yeah.
art in 2 years. Like, I
Really?
can't do anything. I just can't do. I'm actually trying a little project on this desk over here that I'm trying. I
Yeah.
just can't. I straight up, I just can't.
But you
I'm
see,
I'm really
I
struggling
feel
in
like
that regard.
I feel like when you see that is that right there is not a problem. That's the thing. If you go on my YouTube channel, you see the latest post that I did. I wrote that like as artists, when we don't feel like painting or we don't feel like picking up the brush, we always go to I'm uninspired to paint or whatever. But that's not how an artist's mind works. Do you know what I mean? We always have something to sketch, always have something to paint, we always have something to write, we always have something to do. Like this thing is always firing, bruh. I mean, that's the reason why we have sleepless nights. You know what I mean? But it needs a break as well. And sometimes for it to evolve, it needs to stop doing the things that take over 90% of our time. Do you know what I mean? So that it can evolve to the next level, to the next step. You know what I mean? If you were still doing like visual art on a daily, this podcast wouldn't exist. Have you
Good
ever thought
point.
of it like that?
Yeah, good point.
Do you know what I mean? So now, because the podcast is getting its own legs now, you're able to start another project now. You're going back to sketching and
That
painting,
that's a good
but you'll
point.
see the art that you're going to make now is not going to be the same as the Wesley Pepper of 2 decades ago. It's going to be better because you've evolved now. But we never allow that evolution, because we always want to say, yeah, not you. I saw another dude calling artists who don't paint or sketch lazy. And I was like, really?
Yeah,
You who has the money to do your own framing. I see you can do your own framing there. Like you
yeah,
talk about yourself. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's not a problem that you haven't painted anything. It's allowing the process, the mind to evolve. You'll see. I can't wait to see the new artwork that you're going to produce now
I
because
like
I
the way
still
you said.
have quite a few. Do you remember that artwork of yours where like it's like the man is blowing a
Yeah,
flute with one eye? I want to see. That's my favorite artwork of yours. I still have it on my phone. But when you make an artwork now, I'm always going to look back at that one and see the evolution.
that's dope.
So don't even go there.
Yeah, man. Good point. Good point. Like, I also don't always see it as a
Yeah.
disability, but I do. It is a frustration,
No.
certainly.
Mm.
And you are right with the
Yeah. I mean,
podcast. I feel. No, continue.
I haven't performed poetry in 2 decades.
Sure.
I
And
the one or two or three places that I've done it don't count for me.
yeah,
But really, really like being on the stage like we used to, you know what I mean? Like really just like I mean like we would be on the stage sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times in a day on different stages, you know what I mean? I mean United Siblings was a beast when we were really, really like pushing, you know what I mean? But I've never looked at myself as, oh, now I'm no longer a poet because I don't write anymore. When the time comes, I mean, it's the same with painting. I stopped painting because my father passed away and I couldn't pick up the brush anymore. Do you know what I mean? And most people think that I started painting after he passed away, but I've always been a painter and a visual artist. In fact, we used to fight a lot about him being a painter and a visual artist. He didn't want that for me. You know what I mean? And we would always fight about that, and I'd be like, but you're a different generation. It's going to be different with me. You know what I mean? But when he passed away, it's crazy that I couldn't pick up the brush anymore. And poetry was the vessel that I could express myself through that pain. You know what I mean? And writing. And then even that became a beast on its own because in Newtown, when we used to perform, people used to see him when they saw me. So it marred that as well. You know what I mean? And then the photography came into being. And then that took me to where I am today. You know what I mean? And now I'm able to use the photography to finance the art. Do you see how now
So
it's coming full circle now? I'm
circle
able to
comes.
paint and not worry about, yes, you know what I mean? I'm not worrying about like paper and art supplies and not what, because I have this other creative platform that's also feeding into the other creative platform. And now I'm looking at the old manuscript and thinking, oh, it could be a book. Do you see now that the poetry now is also going to, do you see? So if we allow the processes and we go with them, sometimes like they actually feed into each other. Most people will go, yeah, but like, how do you balance the poetry and the photography and the art? And I just go, easy. The photos feed the visual painter, and the visual painter most of the time feeds the photography. I'll get an inspiration from like a sketch that I'm doing, and I'm like, I'd like to shoot that if we can get this prop or whatever, whatever, whatever. Sometimes I'll take a photo while I'm driving, and that photo will become an artwork. You
Mm.
see how allowing the process, you know what I mean? This one guy who was interviewing me not so long ago asked me, like, how do you find the balance? And I was like, there is no balance. It's chaos.
That's a very
But why does
honest.
it always have to be a balance?
Mm.
The world around us is not balance.
Yeah.
How can we
Nothing.
find balance? And you know what I mean? It's chaos. You know what I mean? So we reflect chaos as we reflect our surroundings as artists. We're the mouthpiece of like the current state of society. And right now it's the craziest it's ever been. So how do you interpret that looking for balance in a world that doesn't have balance? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. Just to add on to what you were saying, all of this takes a lot of patience. Um,
Mm,
Society, contemporary society doesn't really allow that. Like everything has got to be quick. Our favorite of everything is always on
mm,
your
mm,
phone. The patience, which also relates back to time. So I agree with you. And
mm,
also, just like, as you're saying, that process, like where the one hand feeds the other, um,
mm.
I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah,
I can.
yeah,
Let's talk about some of your work, my brother. I mean, you didn't touch base on some of your photography. I know that with photography, because it's such a quick medium, you see something, you take out your camera, you have
yeah,
the image. Um, but I've also noticed some of your 'cause I was looking at your paintings, a bunch of observations. Firstly, the color. The color is very interesting.
mm,
Just a point on the color before we
yeah,
get to the other part. I was talking to Slonit
mm,
Lamini few weeks back. And
yeah.
he's one thing about his about his watercolors is really
Oh, watercolors. Mm,
rich in color. There's
yeah,
probably some of the richest
mm,
color watercolor paintings that I know
watercolor.
of.
Mm,
Yours is
mm,
similar.
mm,
I also know there's a vibrancy in the color, very richness in the color, and also the
mm,
subject matter.
mm.
So tell us a little bit about that, man. First and foremost, why watercolors? Why not anything else? Why watercolors and not
Because
just take it from there?
it's the opposite of who I am.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, tell
You
us
know.
about that.
Yeah, I like control. I like to be in control of the things that I want to do. Um, I'll make an example with the photography. I always say photographers are like, oh, Photographers are light benders. We want to manipulate light,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it's a form of control. So watercolor has always spoken to me because I've always felt like in order for me to evolve, I have to be always on my precipice. And it's always challenged me to let go. Watercolor is very, 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 like you can't control. Sometimes you just have to put it down and let it do what it wants to. And in that way, it's helped me in a way, like be patient more, heal more, have time to reflect more. You know what I mean? For example, when you do a first wash, you can't just the same time go and do another wash. You have to wait for it to dry and see whether the colors and the and the hues are going to land on the canvas or the paper, and then the next wash. So it's a very patient and temperamental medium, but it's a media of letting go. The media of letting go of control. The media of allowing the media to do what it has to do. Sometimes, it's a very very interesting relationship.
Interesting.
So yeah, and and as a partially colorblind person, that's why sometimes like the colors people say, oh my god, the colors like are so vibrant and whatever, you know what I mean? But like most of the time, I can't tell what the difference between green and blue. Sometimes I want to do blue, but because the way I mix the colors, it will come out green, but I would still seeing blue. And people go, oh my god, what an interesting, you know what I mean? I'm like, I thought it was blue.
Interesting.
So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Watercolors. I get what you're saying with the patience element to it. It's interesting
Mm,
how you say it's the opposite of what you do. That's super interesting. So tell us a little bit more about the paintings,
mm,
man. It also seems like um, 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 because you're doing quite a bit of it. So you probably you obviously in a very good space, creatively that is.
mm.
Um, yeah, man, just tell us a little bit more about that. Are you painting every day? Are you working towards a show? Or are you just painting for art's sake, which is something actually I want to do a
Yeah,
full episode, maybe a couple of episodes on that. But yeah, let's just
yeah.
pick it up.
Up until like 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, um, I was literally painting every day. And sometimes I would produce, like, I would work on two or three paintings simultaneously. Um, but I would say almost 3 or 4 weeks ago, like I stopped painting because I got to a point where I can't say I wasn't interested in painting anymore, but like I wanted to do something different. I wanted to add on what I was doing, but I couldn't because I was busy painting. I couldn't figure out what's the next step for me. So I stopped. And for example, this painting, let me see this one right here. Maybe I'll send you a photo and then you can put it up as I'm speaking about it. Was done last night. Um, and this one, uh, let's see, this one right here
Yeah,
was
yeah,
done day before yesterday. And those are the two paintings that I've done the most recent after my hiatus. And and I see the difference in the brush strokes, in how I'm applying the washes now. You know what I mean? Like it goes back to what I was telling you that sometimes when we're trying to figure out the next step, we can't figure it out within the creative space, within creating. We have to step away. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, when you look at your work holistically, you can spot, yeah, that's it. Maybe it's more time between the washes. Maybe it's using the different paper from cold press to hot press. You know what I mean? So that's where I am right now. In terms of my subject matter, I'm big on reimagining Africa.
interesting.
Um, where would we be if things went a different way? Um, if we're not colonized,
Yeah, man.
Where would we be?
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? What would be a South African? You know what I mean? Would we have colored? Would we have black? Would we have, you know what I mean? The demographic of um, of who we are and what we are, would it be different? And if it was different, how would we be dealing with the resources that we have? You know what I mean? There's a painting that I did not so long ago of a South African Zulu man. If uh, things went our way, and he's wearing some futuristic belt,
Yeah, I
almost like
saw
a
that.
Batman. You
Yeah, I
know what
saw
I
that.
mean? You know, if we were able to cultivate our own resources, maybe our technology would be different. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the same resources that are being pulled out, put into technology, and then sold back to us. But what if? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, my whole subject matter is reimagining Africa. You know, reimagining South Africa, reimagining where would we be, and then so that we can almost reimagine where we are going. Do you know what I mean?
Actually,
Um,
I wanna pick your brain on where we're going. But I think we'll do that, in the
yeah,
latter part. Because I think there's some
yeah.
interesting. I've got some views on that too. Um,
Yeah.
so
And then yeah,
oh,
and then
continue, continue.
yeah, and then there's yeah, like and then like recently I've started even going because look, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. I've always been fascinated with sci-fi. I mean, that's Skywalker. You know what I mean? After Luke Skywalker from Star Wars.
I kind
You
of
know what I
figured.
mean? Yeah, but I've always wondered what would a black South African be inside that movie? How would we be represented? How would we be expressed? Do you know what I mean? In these worlds, because like when Africans like you know what, like yes, we are rich in culture and all those things, blah 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 blah. But there's also a lot of suffering men in Africa. So most of the time we hardly ever think about the future. We always think about the surviving, the now. You know what I mean? Most of the time we don't have the luxury to think, oh, can you imagine in a futuristic like South Africa where like airplanes, the car is also like an airplane, you know what I mean? And I can just drive into like a quarter joint, and you know what I mean, pick up some quarters there, and then like my car becomes an amphibian. I can go into the water with it and go home. You know what I mean? So me as a sci-fi look almost freak, I've always thought of things like that. You know what I mean? When I was making cars with wires when I was growing up, I would make them have a little bit of wings. Do you know what I mean? So now the art is feeding into that inner child, those inner thoughts that I've always had. You know what I mean? And I'm expressing them through my subject matter.
Inter-
Um, like the color of the north. You know,
Interesting.
there's an artwork that I did of a really petite lady. I was thinking of the what you call this. Um, what's our our desert in the north
The Kalahari
of
Desert,
South Africa?
the Sahara Desert.
Yes. Yes. So I was like, what would the people look like in the future if we kept everything? And that little lady is what I would think of what would be like a colored who stayed in that or a Tswana speaking from Botswana living in that area in the future if we kept everything. Do you know what I mean? Really, really an interesting subject matter that keeps me
Yeah,
up at
yeah,
night.
yeah. It's a
But
bit
I'm
of
enjoying
Afro.
it because most of the time it's for me. You know what I mean? It's not for an upcoming gallery. It's not an exhibition. It's not for It's just all these ideas that are just like coming out of me, man, and I'm just putting them on paper. And you know, yeah, it also goes back to how I used to hear when people would go, "Nhlanhla was so young, but he produced so much," and I was like, I wonder how he did it. Until I got a subject matter that like I could just run with the way I am right now. I was like, that's how he did it. It's having a subject matter that like that's true to you, that's always plagued you, you know what I mean? So it doesn't stop. never stops. It just keeps going, man.
I like that. Yeah, that's very accurate.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Also, like, it really strikes me as like you were real. It's really Afrofuturism. There's a Afrofuturist
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
kind of work,
Yes.
and that's actually
Yeah.
in a lot of other not necessarily music, but definitely stage TV.
Mm,
A bit
mm,
of that. It's also interesting how different
mm,
people, different parts of the continent, sort of reflects that. And interesting, there's
mm.
a lot of also just another point that you said there, which
Yeah.
um, and there's also to everyone who's listening to this channel that's not necessarily a practicing artist. You don't have to just
Mm.
do work for a show, man. Like not
No.
like like making art. There mustn't always be a show at the end of the you know.
Yeah.
I think that type of shit
Yeah.
actually it exhausts people, man. So that's actually a very matured
Yeah.
way of looking at it.
Look, look. There was a time when I was getting bored with my subject matter, because I had a couple of shows coming, and it's crazy how the mindset changes to, I, what am I doing? Is what I'm doing right now going to sell? Is it going to look
Yeah,
good on somebody's
yeah,
wall? Do you know
sure.
what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you have to change the perspective. It can't be a portrait. It has to be a landscape. Now you're forcing your dimensions to fit somebody's wall. You know what I mean? And for me, that changed everything, and it was so awkward for me. And most of the work that I produced, I hated a
Mm,
lot. Do you know what I mean? But then after those shows, I came back and I was like, actually, like my wife was like, look, I don't think you fit in a gallery. I'm going to be honest with you. I think you are your own artist, and you've always pushed the way you push because you've never done it for a gallery. So it's okay if you want to exhibit. It's okay if you want to do all those things like you used to, but I need you to stop thinking about that. And it was a wake up call for me because we aspire to that as artists. Like we want to get to a point where you're selling at galleries and what. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
sometimes that's what kills the artist. You know what I mean? And then we think we're uninspired, but it's not because we're uninspired. It's because we were trying to create for a wall, to create for selling. And there's nothing wrong with it. We need to survive. We need to sell. But if we're selling and you're still not scratching your creative edge, are you going to be happy?
yeah. And I think
Are
that
you
thing
going to
also
be fulfilled?
gets the process is moving forward because when you if you keep doing art just because you're prompted to do it, because the
Mm,
gallery expects you to do it, artists aren't machines, and we don't
mm,
work like machines. There's no on and off switch,
mm,
and there's no faster or
yeah.
slower kind of thing
Mm,
there. And
mm, mm,
that's also part reason why I've got huge issues with the gallery system, and I want to get to that, and I want to get
mm,
to that plus the
mm,
technology,
mm,
or how technology is changing that narrative, because I've got a huge issue with how you were saying now with the size of the artworks. Personally, I
mm.
can people had issues with my size and my paper. Imagine the fucking paper I'm using. Jesus Christ, I could that thing always blows my fucking mind. How could somebody have a problem with a type of paper? What the fuck does the paper got to do with
Have
my
to do with
artwork
anything.
and the size? Because I wasn't making in doing this certain artwork, I wasn't doing it with the thing, oh shit, this got to sit on this size. Well, I was doing it for other reasons, but the
Mm,
system takes that thing and it sort of contorts it, distorts it into this parody that it eventually becomes, and the artist is just forced to adapt or die, and
mm,
then I
mm.
want to add this onto it actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take this point and then we'll close this session. It's kind of off topic, but it's not off topic. Recently on
No,
social
it's
media,
not.
there was another. He's an actor, that went on this radio show saying the nigga's broke and he need money. Um,
Mm.
jobs dried up, and I sort of like that type of a crowdfunding thing to help the homie, and people were lampooning this dude to death. I won't say his name because I don't want to be part of that narrative. But they were lampooning this dude to death. In fact, I was reading about it while I was setting up as well. And my point there being is that this dude had you had a certain trope. He always played certain characters. Now, if that gig dried up, you are sort of branded in that, and if they're not looking for that type of dude, you have to be versatile. And I don't think the homie adapted very well. But to lampoon the dude for doing that is not right. And I blame the system. Not system. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like it is the gallery system. When in that case, directing production and so forth. My point here being is that the system, the current system, doesn't allow the artists to be organic, doesn't allow the artists to become themselves. You have to always think about at the end of the day, there always got to be a show and money. And that carrot doing this gig for well over 20 years, that thing kills you slowly but surely. When they say death by 1,000 cuts, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And some of us don't have the personality, resources to sort of reinvent once you've fallen, and that is deadly.
To fit the gallery system. Yes. You know what I mean? And it goes back to identifying yourself as well. You know what I mean? Like as artists, I feel like sometimes we so focus on the creating part at the detriment of us evolving or finding out or interacting with the art in terms of, okay, I created this thing, but what does it say about me?
My brother, let's pick up
that point there. You know what I mean?
Because I want to get your point on how technology has changed this whole thing. But the session is actually running out. So let me close the session. I'll send you a link and we'll just pick it up after that. All right?
Let's do that. Yeah.
I will. Jump straight into it. I can. Oh, sorry. Hi everybody. I just pressed the wrong button. Sure, Malebza. Just before that break, we sort of touched in on the on the failing gallery system. I sound like a politician from from America now. But basically, what I sort of the direction I wanna go here is that you made some incredible strong points with regards to how the artist how things outside of the artist's control really impacts, and how you need time, patience to do that, and how it sort of comes a full circle. And if it takes 20 years, it takes 20 years. That's just it's just how it is. What I wanna pick your brain on now is that the age we're living in. I mean, we're living in age. It's 2024. We had ChatGPT was launched last year. We have AI tools all over. I use AI tools. It's makes my stuff a bit easier. It has also. I read an article yesterday. I think it was a bit. Some of it was a bit hyperbole, I think, but some of it was a bit overstretched. Where they were talking about various careers that will be obsolete in 10 years' time. And there was some, I mean, they said shit like farmers and doctors. I think, I don't really think, I think there'll always be doctors. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the arts. What's your take on AI? What's your take on how things have changed? If you look at most galleries I know are always trying to grow the audience, not most, all galleries I know. New audiences is always very important because it's always about money. You need to make more. You need to make more money, and post-COVID, a certain demographic people lost money. Is the point I was trying to make. So you need people with more money, and I've actually found, um, and this is through talking to everybody and just my general observation. Most of the industry didn't change for shit. A lot of stuff didn't
No,
change. In fact, it's
no,
stubbornly the same, which blows
yeah,
my mind. It really blows
mm,
my mind. What's
mm.
your take on all that? What's your take on all of that, my brother?
Okay, so on AI, I'm going to start off with an
Yeah.
example. In photography, film was used for the better part of a century, or even more, I think. And when the DSLR was introduced, the digital camera,
Hmm.
everybody was like, oh, photography is ending. The soul of photography
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
dying. Where are we now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now we've gone back to mirrorless. So the reflex camera has evolved back to its old self, but with the new technology. When it comes to the arts with AI, I am now that the dust is settling a bit, you start to see what reality is and what's going to be fluff. For example, AI agencies. What even is that? You know what I mean? Start your AI agency before it's too late. You know why before it's too late? Because people are starting to catch on and see the differences between what's AI generated and what's real. And that's where we need to be in order for this AI thing to actually be its own thing and not come into people's spaces and almost not disrupt, because disruption is always good. Disruption always shows some sort of evolution. Do you know what I mean? But when it's destroying, it's that's where you know what I mean. Destruction and destruction will always be on the opposite in a way when it comes to the arts. You know what I mean? Disruption is always good. It keeps us on our toes. It keeps us on our feet. It keeps us thinking. You know what I mean? When something new comes into the space that we can either use or reject, some will use, some will reject. You know what I mean? But when it's destructive, then it becomes a problem where this work is being used without your consent. You know what I mean? Then it becomes a destructive thing. Do you know what I mean? Um, Anything that's at the detriment of the artist for me is going to be a negative. But if it's going to assist the artist, it's a positive. You know what I mean? So where I am with AI is that like there's tools out there that I've seen that are beneficial to the artist. You know what I mean? But then you have these big corporate companies that are trying to use or train their AI um, on or using other people's art without their consent. That's a problem. Do you know what I mean? I mean, before AI, we were already fighting this thing with people using our shit without our consent. You know what I mean? And now we have big corporate that is actually coming into the space and doing that. We can fight. Not every artist can fight big corp on copyright. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not even big corp sometimes these days. Um, I'll use something that's not even AI related. There's a guy in the Eastern or Western Cape who saw an artwork of his being used on a matric jacket, right? And he was not even asked about it. And I saw him posting it on Facebook. We're already fighting battles like that with ordinary people, with our own people. You know what I mean? And then now you have to fight these corporate giants. Becomes too much. And that's why I've been seeing this trend of people not even posting their work anymore because they don't want it to be stolen by AI. And then I'm like, but like social media is supposed to be this place where we can run to if the gallery system is not working. But then if that is not working as well, then is it the death of the artist? Do you know what I mean? Me, I tend to go the other way. I mean, like I have to post my work. If I feel like posting my work, post my work. And if I don't feel like posting my work, I won't post my work. You know what I mean? Already we've been feeding this AI thing. I mean, like our phones are fucking AI. You know what I mean? It's just that like now it's intruding into the things that we love. You know what I mean? And also interesting is that like when it started out, it was only the artists, right? And the artists are bitching. And now it started making music videos. And now it was like, oh, no, no. And then now it's doing the writing. And now it's becoming it's taking the it's coming into retail spaces. Oh, now the artists are not bitching. They were not bitching. You know what I mean? It's really coming for everybody's job. You know what I mean? So I think realistically, yeah, realistically, AI will never, I don't think it will ever replace the artist because you will still need somebody to prompt. And prompting will always need tweaking, no matter how good it is. You know what I mean? I saw this other example from this other animator who works for Disney. And he said, I've seen what they were trying to do with AI, but they still had to call me to
Interesting.
fix the problems with AI. Do you know what I mean? And that gave me a different perspective, you know, on the fears that I had. I still have the fears. They won't go away. As an artist, you'll always have those fears, especially in this AI landscape. But at the same time, we can't put our hands in our pockets or put our heads in the ground and say, we'll wait it out, or I won't post anymore, or I won't create anymore because of AI. Then don't bitch if you're going to put your hands in the pocket or put your head in the ground. Do you know what I mean? Don't bitch. Stay out of it. Don't even comment. Don't even do anything then. You know what I mean? Let the people who want to fight them. Let the people who want to post them. Even the people that are using AI and calling it art, let them do their thing. It's okay. When digital art photographers were coming on the space, they were told that like they're not real art if you're not using film. But now it's an all-encompassing thing because now we recognize people who still use film and people who use digital cameras. And now, not so long ago, the phone camera became so good that people were like, "Oh my God, it's going to replace photography." No, it didn't at all. It just showed how much it redefined what a photographer is. It's not a point and click thing. It's the expertise. Do you know what I mean? It's the same thing with the art and the AI in the space. You know, it's the lighting, it's the brush strokes, it's the you know what I mean? I mean, for God's sake, man, like you can see AI work, man.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And people are starting to see what's AI and what's real. You know, yes, is it getting good? Yes, it is. There have been times when you're like, is it really like AI? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the human element will always be the connection between the brushstroke and the messaging and the soul to the next person who's going to view it. That will always be important, or at least to the arts industry or to the art community. Do you get what I'm saying? Man, I don't blame the ordinary man on the street using AI to make a nice photo for themselves. They can't even afford art.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and if we're going to gatekeep art to 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 the rich and the ones who can afford, then it's really culture should never be for the rich and those who can afford. You know what I mean? The ordinary person on the street using that, it's cool, it's fine. I don't care. You know what I mean? But when you start getting into the spaces where the artist is making a living, then we really need to look at it with prying eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
get them
yeah.
going.
Yeah, I actually want to come in there because I hear your point, and I think that when you talk about artists being compensated for their work, I think there should be more legislation around that. And these motherfuckers are
Mm,
lazy as F about that. There's an oh, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there is an organization I know that was trying to lobby government. I was interacting with them some months back. I can't
mm,
remember the name and shit. Anyway, um, there's just no legislation from government. So it's just and
No,
as we know, the arts has always been there's been this free market. There's been no rules, so you can just come in, take and leave. There's been no regulation anywhere
yeah,
for like 200 years.
yeah, and to be honest with you,
So
sorry
mm, go ahead,
to
go ahead.
interrupt you there. Like, but like at the same time, if we do have legislation and sort of like government involvement to that extent that we want, the artist the artist has always been a rebel.
Mm,
That's that's a given. So being monitored or being influenced by the government so actually doesn't work.
okay, that's a good point.
then
That's a good point.
do you know what I mean? We always say, yeah, this needs to be regulated, that needs to be regulated, but like the, the title itself is unregulated. That's why people, that's why somebody who makes designs on doors can call himself an artist. A person who does tiling in a certain way can call themselves an artist because it's unregulated. The artist is the human creative spirit. Can we
Mm.
really put regulations on that? You know what I mean? So yeah, like it's always like a double-edged sword whenever we
Interesting,
talk about like, yeah,
interesting,
we need more
interesting
involvement of
point.
government and whatever. Yeah,
Um, um, Actually, I never looked at it like that. Very, very interesting point. But don't you think that we need, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe government shouldn't hear it, especially that new asshole who's in charge of arts and culture right now. Don't like that dude very much. Um, um,
why?
uh, my brother, we need a person. We need some me time for that. I don't like anybody who's anti-African. As soon as I'm a pro Pan-Africanist. I beat my chest
Yeah,
about that. I'm actually proud of that. I'm a
mm,
Pan-Africanist and I don't respect anybody who's
yeah,
anti-African. Because you're anti-African, I got no place
yeah,
in time. And bombastic, um, all this bullshit that is doing none of the stuff is addressing issues that we're really having. For example, like what are we talking about? Like
that we
AI.
really have.
I haven't heard them say
Yeah,
any. I saw him do a video the other day about trying to lose
mm.
weight. Imagine lose weight. It sounds very
Hey,
Republican,
hey,
alt-right,
hey.
like there over the water, over the
You know
Pacific
what?
Ocean. It sounds
Yeah,
very much like
I look.
that.
I may not like the man, but again, it comes back to the corruption. I like, to be honest with you, the art industry and the art movement has, especially in South Africa, has been on this like line forever. And I think whether I like him or not, he brings a disruption because I've seen artists now talk about this is not who we want, and other artists saying this is who we want.
Artists have been
Artists have never
complaining
said,
about that ever since. I mean, remember after
but like,
Marikana, the government put
but
Nadim
not
there.
on this, but
I
not
had the
on
displeasure
this
of sitting
level.
at the
You know what I
table
mean?
next to
Because
them
mm,
once. Sorry, continue.
mm, yeah, you see, when, for example, when he made that comment about making spinning a recognized sport in South Africa, do you know what I mean? Man, you could have seen that the painters going up in like fuming, you know? Like I was like, look, I mean, like this guy, like I like that he's getting a reaction from artists. Artists are very passive. Like when it comes, like, let's just be honest. Do you know what I mean? Artists, like we talk within our circles, but artists are very passive when it comes to like publicly like fighting
Yeah, yeah, your
for
point.
this industry or for the movement. You know what I mean? And for the past like ever since he's been put in that ministry, artists all of a sudden I'm seeing artists that I've never seen talk about politics, never seen talk about like how the
I see
government is influencing them, and they are talking about it. Do you know what I mean?
your point.
Whether he's going to do good, whether he's going to do bad, it's a change. You know what I mean? We will see. Maybe after him, we will get somebody who's the opposite of him, and then we'll see. Do you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
I don't think
right
you'll
now,
get anybody better, but I see your point, and I want to
thank,
add on to
thank you.
I want to add on to that.
And your point. Yeah.
I'm not. I must be careful about what and how I'm saying this. If you've been listening, anybody, if you listen to this channel, like I've been working in Gallery 360 Africa, and that is just I mean, I don't have a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's happening there. I have no control over. But what we're trying to do is to build our own platform. Not trying, we are building our own platform that is devoid that because you made a point earlier on, and you were 100% correct there about social media, about artists skeptical of putting their artworks on there. I still think it's too late though. I think it's too late. If you're on social media I mean, I was in social media since the early 2000s. If I must remove my art now, I mean, they've over 10 years of my work. So, but I see your point. I see your point, and and you got to make a solid point about this dude being a disruptor. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, but I see your point. Now, what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think it's high time we build our own platform and we take full advantage of that. Like, I'm trying to collaborate more with programmers, developers, coders. I mean, these guys are but high end, like they're very expensive, but rightfully so. I respect that. Why my wheels are turning so slow. But I just think that if there's one thing about this bombastic idiot that's in power now is that he is pushing artists out of their comfort zone for sure. I don't necessarily think that's a good strategy because artists are sensitive and not all of us are not all of us. It's not in our DNA just to go out on the street and so forth. Artists want to be in the studio listening to music and making art. And it's when this disruption starts affecting our bottom line when we become and then you can add AI on top of that. But very good points you're making there, Liz. So let me just say sort of moving forward. And I want to relate that to this article I was reading about they're saying like in 10 years time, blah 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 blah. Working as a photographer, doing this, and your paintings are beautiful. So by the way, working on being in this space where you're producing work constantly, and also working with other clients. You got your other gigs on the side and so forth, and the photography. Where do you see the arts in let's say at the time of the next elections, which is 5 years from now? Do you see? Are you I guess are you? If you're pessimistic, you're pessimistic. If you're optimistic, you're optimistic. But where do you sort of see yourself in there? Are you yeah, I'm trying to repackage this question so many times, but let me just throw it out at you. You see what I'm asking, correct?
Yeah. I don't care about that where the industry is going to be. Because the industry doesn't owe me anything. I don't owe the industry anything.
Oh, wow.
And like you said, when we started in the beginning, and we said, things are still the same before and after COVID. Things have been the same for the past 20 years. We've been doing this thing. So what's another 5 years? It has nothing to do with.
Okay.
I'm here to create. I'm not doing this for the industry. I'm doing this because there's nothing. I know nothing else. This is me, dude. Like, do you know what time I slept tonight? Last night I slept around 3-4, and my wife had to say, dude, you need to at least get some shut eye if you're going to do this interview with Wesley, because I'm always like, it's either it's the photography that I'm editing, or like I'm creating the painting, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing this for the industry. I'm not doing this for anybody else but me. You know what I mean? If the industry interacts with me on that level, kudos, pashash. If they don't, it still doesn't affect my creative process. It just doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Yes, we want the accolades, we want likes, we want all these things. But if they're at the detriment of like me creating and me expressing myself and enjoying what I'm doing, then I don't want to interact with the industry. You know
I
what I
see.
mean? I mean, even with the gallery system, the way I don't like the gallery system, but like I've had a couple of people who own galleries that have changed my mind in terms of like, okay, there's still people who are for the artist. Do you know what I mean? There are few in between, but at least they are there. You know what I mean? For the people, for the guys that are coming in. You know what I mean? I mean, I recommended one of the galleries to an up incoming artist who was like frustrated that they have all this work and they've never shown it. I was like, speak to this guy, and they got sorted. Do you know what I mean? And they did the framing for them, and that's what we need. You know what I mean? Um, but my point again is that like we can't always put this blanket on everything, and
Yeah.
we can't allow people to put blankets on us. You know what I mean? And say, yeah, all artists are you know what I mean? I'm creating for me. I'm creating for labs. Do you know what I mean? Because there's not, I don't know anything else but this thing that I've always itched to do, to create, to snap, to, you know what I mean, to perform. Yeah, you know, like 5 years from now, if I'm still alive, I'll still be creating.
Say,
You know what I mean? And if I'm dead, somebody's going to sell my artworks at like 3 times or even 4 times what I would need now. You know what I mean? While I'm alive, you know? It's, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you there. I hear you there. Very sober.
yeah.
It's a very sober answer.
I mean, like you're
Sober.
doing this thing, Wesley, you're doing this thing. And you, as you said, like the wheels are turning slowly because you're doing it by yourself. Is the industry helping you in any way?
Nobody's helping me. I'm in partnership with these
Thank you.
guys.
But
And
but you're able to give artists a platform to speak without the industry helping you or anything, without the government helping you or anything. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Yes, it's
Good.
okay if like we're doing, yeah,
I what I like about your answer, um, it I try my best not to make this podcast an echo chamber. I try to,
mm,
keep it diverse with, get people on who I don't necessarily
mm,
always
mm,
gel with. But what you're saying is correct. I agree
mm.
fully. It's totally an echo chamber in that regard.
Yeah,
And these dogs are barking here. To my listeners,
yeah,
sorry
no,
about
don't worry.
I was
We
quieted
live in a
down.
living world. We live
You
in
know
a
what?
living.
I'm a few of my guests that came through to my actual studio also never had a problem with it. It seems to
Yeah,
me I'm the only one. I'm the only one that's always having a
we
problem
live in
with
a living world, bro.
it.
Yeah, like you said, you don't live in an echo chamber. You know what I mean? Like,
Not
yeah,
everybody. Good try. Good point. I just want to add on to the sort of what I was trying to get, or rather, on my side, like 5 years from now, 3 years from now.
mhm,
What
yeah,
um I've seen artists react very negative to AI, and I've seen people being very naive to it, and the other one will be, as long as it doesn't affect them personally, they don't give a shit. Up until it
mm,
affects them personally. Um, so how I
mm,
see it is that people like myself, you and others, I mean, the legislation, the way people react to it now is going to set the trend for future generations, just like Facebook did.
for
How we
future.
interacted with
Yeah,
Facebook, for example,
mm,
Instagram is another good example. So we are
yeah,
definitely the trendsetters in that regard, and how we interact with it now will be how it will like you were saying early on, like how artists need to prompt these tools. All that data is being captured, and in a few years now they will use that data to sort of move forward. So I
mm,
think there's a real sense of responsibility that we should have, and
mm, mm,
there's a I I I try my best to start out to engage in as many people on this as
mm,
possible, so we can get like this real
yeah,
from people from different perspectives. everything.
Mm.
And I think like in a few years now, it will be a serious game changer. Um,
Yeah,
I'm uh, I'm also
yeah.
interested to see how it's going to change people's processes. In other words, what are they going to be making art
Mm,
about, and so forth.
mm,
Like you're saying, the fellow with a matric jacket. That's a super interesting
yeah,
story. That's a very
yeah.
interesting story. Um, very very interesting. So as I said, I just think we are the the OG trend
Yeah,
setters, and with that is what
yeah. The thing is, yeah, like for me, it's we can't be depressed about it right now. If we are depressed about it right now,
what's that gonna help?
then yeah, man, you know what I mean? Like the artist has always been fought and been undermined and been, you know, that's why I said the artist has always been the rebel. So we can't take on the whole title of being an artist. Then yeah, we've already lost.
I see your point.
You know
I
what I
see.
mean? We've already lost. You know what I mean? When an artist from the US Google South African artist and they just see depressed artists who are not even reacting to it says a lot about the country. Do you know what I mean? You know, there's a famous I think it's a quote or artist who said like if you want to really know the current state of society, look at the artists in that time, and then you'll get a feeling. You get the artworks, look at the music, look at the movies, look at I mean, and then you'll get a sense of where humanity
Very
was
interesting point. And we can actually talk
where
about that.
humanity's state of mind. We document, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
We
yeah,
can
that's it. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, I mean, I just need
very
artists to like
interesting point.
keep
I was
creating, man. Like, let's create.
let's create, let's create. I wanted to
Yeah,
say talking about like looking at artists like right now. I mean, we're running out of time, so I don't really want to add on to this, but
yeah. And my
I've
phone,
got
my phone, my phone just told me that I have 3% battery
I know, my brother, but
capacity.
we are wrapping up. I think I'll hold that point for another time.
Yeah.
Lebogang, give my
Mm,
my views, my audience, where can they get hold of your work?
mm.
So social media handles, websites, etc.
Lebogang Tshetlo. It's Lebogang Tshetlo underscore art. From there, you'll find my photography account. You'll find my dad's account. You'll find everything. Um, both the photography and the the art. Um, yeah, like you know what I mean. And then
It's
as
all
for the poetry, something is cooking. Hopefully
yeah,
something
no,
will come.
no.
You know,
If you have anything you want to
we've been
share,
sitting on this shit for like 20 years.
well, I mean, if it's 20 years, it's 20 years. If you have any of that stuff
Yeah,
you want to share, man, this platform is for everybody. It'll be dope. We can catch up in the
no,
future again.
definitely.
Like as we're talking, I'm thinking like shit, man. There's so many other things I'd like to add on to.
Yeah, to like, yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah,
I try
yeah,
to I try to keep this thing like just under an hour. Maybe just stick under an hour because of my audience, and there's a bunch of technical stuff for that. But let's wrap it up, my
yeah,
brother. This was really cool. As I
yeah.
said, like I think your paintings are lovely.
No,
There's
man,
there's
it's
there's,
good, man.
there's one painting in particular, and I think you actually spoke about it, where
Yeah,
the I think it's with a close up here with a guy with his Afro. It was a
yes,
self portrait. So that
yes,
was really lovely.
yes,
So that was really lovely.
yeah.
And all the
Thanks,
other stuff,
man.
I thought this was really cool, man. 20 years.
Yeah,
What's 20 years between friends, huh?
nothing.
It's just time
Yes,
is, I would just say time is relative. Yeah, as
yeah,
our
no, it
brother,
is, man.
totally starting to
Thank you for
agree.
having me, dude.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah,
It's been long coming. So
yeah,
I'll be working on this episode over the weekend. I'll definitely publish it in the next few days. But I'll
no
hit you
problem.
up on socials on when and when I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming through, my brother. Still, well,
No
it's not
problem.
early. Well, enjoy the rest of the day. It's
Yeah,
a
it was
Friday.
fun. Yeah, you
Yeah,
too.
of course. I
Yeah,
booked.
and cohabitate with that dog, man. Okay. You know.
I'm not really into animals. I like people, black people in particular, and art and music.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be super cool to yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so stuck into what I like, and I like just what I
Yes.
mentioned,
Yes.
and
But
that's it.
there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with
there's nothing wrong with that to you. A lot of other people got a problem with that. I guess
it.
I've
Yeah.
become a bit stubborn. And
Nah, whatever.
but I don't wanna, but I
Whatever.
don't
Like
want
if
an
people
animal.
want to be accepted, but they don't want to accept. Yeah. People want to accept to be accepted. And I want to be understood, but you're not understanding other people. You need to start understanding people and accepting them for who they are, so that you can have a pedestal to say, you need to accept me.
I'm actually gonna use that I'm actually gonna cut that bit out, and
Thank you.
publish
Thank you.
like some wise
Yeah.
words there. Good
Let's end
one.
this before this phone dies and then it looks like I hung up on you.
Well, T, I'll be in touch via WhatsApp, man. Have a fantastic weekend. This was great, my king.
Yeah, let's check.
Awe,
Cool, cool,
shot,
brother.
shot, shot, Lebogang.
Sure.
Awe.